certainly over the last few years, people have been probably hearing about something maybe going on with Union Road, maybe not. You know, we have had this project on our list of projects to do for quite some time. In fact, let's see if this thing's working. Of course it's off, because I turned it off. All right, we've had this on our project list since back in 2006, actually. It's been several years, and we had it out as kind of a 5-year project back then. So that means we would have done it maybe in 2010 or 11. And then other projects come up, other things come up, and we have to push it off and push it off. So we've pushed it off for quite a while. Part of that was trying to come up with funding for the project. Funding for us is, in the town of Farragut, is certainly something that we prioritize all of our projects. We try to figure out which projects need to come first, second, third, and everything else. And you know, we don't have debt right now for the town of Farragut, which is a great thing, to be able to be flexible. So what that means is some other projects came before it, but now we were able to, just this past year, get federal funding for this project. And we'll go into that a little bit later. But because of that, that is able to get us going on the project a little bit quicker, obviously, than we have been in the past. So this year, the Knoxville Transportation Planning Organization has given us an 80-20 split on the design of Union Road. The design only is the only thing funded right now, and that's what we're currently working on. In fact, just 2 weeks ago at our Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, we approved a contract with Kimley Horn and Associates for the design of Union Road. Everybody knows, because you live along this stretch of road, that's what it looks like today. It's actually from Saddle Ridge subdivision going east toward Fox Run. It's about 15 feet wide, the road is through that area. Typical cross-section for us is a little bit wider than that. You know, obviously, it's been this way for a long, long time, served its purpose, but from a safety standpoint, we look at it from how much traffic's flowing on it, how many cars per day go on it, how many cars per day will possibly be going on it in the future as well. So the object is, obviously, we're going to have to widen the road in order to make that a safer commute for folks. So what we're going to do is look at the area from Everett Road, so 4,200 feet from Everett Road, right here on Union, all the way down to North Hobbs Road, and then also 750 feet from North Hobbs all the way down to Kingston Pike. And that'll be improved to, well, first let me show you, this is a typical cross-section that we would do for a road. So here, what you typically see is a 12-foot wide lane, a 4-foot wide bike lane. Then you've got 2.5 feet of curb and gutter, 3 feet of grass strip, and then a 5-foot sidewalk on one side. We've got another section in Everett Road that many of you have seen because you live close to it, that actually would have an 8-foot asphalt trail on the other side, or maybe even both sides, depending on what the road calls for. So that's our typical cross section. That all fits within a 60-foot right-of-way. Right now, the town has roughly along Everett Road, or excuse me, along Union Road, between 30 and 40 feet of right-of-way. Just depends on where that section is, if it's in front of an improved area or not. So that's the general area through there. This is a little hard to see, but I wanted to talk to you about what we're thinking about doing with Union Road, because it is a little bit different. We'd like to try to keep it, if we can, with more street trees, things like that in the area. This line right here represents the center line of the road. So what you'd have is a 12-foot lane on one side, a 12-foot lane on the other side. This would be the south side of Union Road on this side. This represents an 8-foot grass strip outside of that area, and then you would slope it off to basically the property owner's property on the other side. On the north side, what we're looking at doing is, again, an 8-foot grass strip, and then a 12-foot shared use path. So instead of having sidewalk and trail on both sides of the road, we would do a little bit wider path on the south side in order to allow both bike and pedestrian traffic to have a little bit easier access back and forth. And then from there, you would slope that off to the property owner's property. Again, this fits 60 feet right of way, like we typically would have for a collector road, which is what Union Road is designated. But what we can do with this is in these grass strip areas, especially this one on the south side, is be able to plant back trees along the corridor. So that way over time, those trees will start growing back. Because as we do the construction, those trees unfortunately will have to be taken down as part of the construction project. But the goal is to replant along that area so that we can get those trees in the next few years to grow back up again. You'll have a nice corridor approach coming through that Union Road area. So this is Everett Road, as many of you know. And again, like I talked about earlier, this actually has 12-foot lanes with an 8-foot asphalt trail on this side. There's also an 8-foot asphalt trail that runs all the way down to Smith Road. And then on the other side of Smith is a sidewalk. So there's a 5-foot sidewalk here, and then the 8-foot trail goes all the way down to Union Road at that point. So this is, again, the last road that we just completed this past year. And so we take elements of this and look at what we can do to maybe make it even, hopefully a little bit nicer even for the Union Road area. There's also an alternative approach, and one of the things I want to talk about is when we get money from TDOT, there's certain requirements that TDOT has for, and federal requirements for what a road looks like, and what it has to, how wide it has to be, how big the sidewalks have to be, things like that. And so one of the things that you can do is a ditch section. And we've talked about this as, I know we had some comments back early on about, well, can we keep this more of a rural approach? And there is a ditch section that TDOT would allow us to do. The issue with this is if you have your lanes here in the middle, which again is a 12-foot lane here, 12-foot lane here, the issue is it's not just grass that comes off the side of that. It's actually 6 feet more of asphalt that you have to put down for the shoulder, and then you'd have another 6 to 8 feet of stone that would go out even further than that outside of the asphalt on both sides of the road. So when you start looking at the width of the asphalt, the width of the stone that's in place, you're talking about 36 plus feet versus the other cross section I showed you earlier was 24 feet of asphalt. So the curb and gutter section takes up a little less space when it comes to asphalt and it allows you to put street trees up. This ditch section, because of the way it has to flow and then come back up again, actually would take up 64 feet of right-of-way, 4 feet more than the other section, and it wouldn't even allow for a trail. If we wanted to do a trail, which we certainly would love to do, it would be outside of that even further. So we feel like that's a little bit problematic just based on the TDOT specs for being able to do a ditch section at this time. Some of the project funding, again, like I talked about earlier, we're in 2017 right now. This is our fiscal year. When I say I'm talking about fiscal years here, but the year, so we've got 80% funding from the federal government, 20% for us, $480,000 for engineering. We just let that contractor, or gave that contract, as I mentioned earlier, to Kimley Horn, and that's going to take them some time. I'll talk about that in a second. Once they're done with engineering, then we'll get to the right-of-way and the construction. And we're working on getting funding for that, which we should know about here in the next few months for the next 3 years. And that comes by the federal government, and then our local agencies all get together and they determine all the projects that go into actually paying for our road improvements around the whole metropolitan area. So overall, we're looking at about a $4.5 million project with about $900,000 that the town would be paying for out of that. So let's talk a little bit about each of these phases. So you've got the NEPA phase, engineering phase. That's what's about to be undertaken right now. That's actually the environmental is the biggest, is the first part of that. Environmental includes a lot of sampling, a lot of soil sampling. They have to look at the entire stretch of road and make reports to TDOT about that. We also have FEMA review because there's a bridge section in there that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to do a lot of analysis on that. There's also just in general survey work, and then ultimately the engineering that goes into and the design of what the road's going to look like and how much space it's going to take up and where it's going to turn and different things like that. So you're looking at roughly an 18 to 24 month process just to do engineering. It's a pretty lengthy thing. But in general, once that's done, or once that's close to being done, then we'll move on to, actually when it is done, we'll move on and have to get TDOT approval, and then we'll move on to the right-of-way acquisition. And now with right-of-way acquisition, it actually breaks down into 3 different phases of that. One is we have to hire an appraiser to go out and appraise all the properties that would be affected by this. And at that point, we'll know exactly how much land, if you're on the north side or the south side of that road and you live on Union Road, how much land that would be taking up, and then they'll appraise that based on current appraised values at the time. That appraiser then will turn that over to another person that basically checks the appraiser's work to verify it, to make sure it's actually accurate, there's no hiccups with it, there's no issues with it, and then that person then will turn it over to a buyer. And the buyer will actually be the ones that contact each of the individual property owners that would be impacted by this to talk about what the appraised value is and start that discussion and negotiation process. So it's a pretty open process throughout the entire phase. We want to make sure we're working with each of you, especially those that are directly on Union Road and would be impacted by this, to try to figure out, they'll look at trees in your yard, they'll look at the slope, how much the slope easements, the construction easements, all the different things that go up into making that project work. They'll work through with you and talk to you about what those values are. So again, and we can talk back and forth once you get those numbers about what it is, certainly we can do. And that takes, another, again, 12 to 18 months. I know we have a lot of property owners along that stretch, so it just depends on how quickly we can acquire that. I know Everett Road took us quite a bit longer, but at the same time, when we started Everett Road, which was probably when I started here about 7 years ago, that project got started and then it stopped because of the economy at the time, and we were working with a developer to work on the road too. So anyway, but once we got it started again, we were able to get it going pretty quickly. And then finally, the construction phase of it, and that's the part that obviously that everybody here is going to be impacted by as well. The construction phase typically takes up to 18 months for a project that size. One of the issues you're going to have is certainly the bridge that we're going to have to figure out. We don't know yet what that bridge is going to look like, how we can engineer that to either be a regular bridge that you see typical places or maybe a box culvert. But either way, you're probably going to have some stoppage there at the road where you're not going to be able to go back and forth across that bridge for some period of time. I know on Everett Road, we had that road closed down for a bit of time. That was for them to actually be able to construct a little faster, be able to work on both sides of the road at the same time. Not sure yet, obviously, what Union Road's going to call for yet. But for those of you that live along it, you will have access to your homes. There's no doubt about that. You'll always be able to get in and out of your home, and we want to make sure you have access to that. So in general, that's just a high-level overview of what we're looking at for Union Road. What I'd like to be able to do is certainly get your questions and comments about any issues or any kind of things you'd like to see with the road, any kind of questions you may have. I may be able to answer those tonight. I may not be able to answer them tonight, but we're going to get all your questions written down for you. And if you do want to speak tonight, then I'd ask you to come to the podium and just state your name for the record. And then if you don't feel comfortable coming to the podium, we have the comment cards I passed out hopefully to everybody earlier. If you didn't get one, they're on the back table. You can get one on the way out. You can fill those out with whatever comments or suggestions or questions that you have, and then we can try to get some information back out to the HOAs that are represented tonight and the homeowners as well. If you want to leave your contact information on those, you're more than welcome to. We can try to communicate directly with you like that as well. So anyway, if anybody would like to get the ball rolling tonight, the microphone is ready to go, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that I can.
I can get out of my
Looks
chair.
like you're first. Yes, go ahead.
I fell a couple of weeks ago, a little stiff. I'm J McConnell. I'm certified legal assistant in real estate, and I own a court reporting firm, and I've been on the licensure board for 7 years as chair. You've answered most of my questions that I had put down in my mind. When you say you have a 60-foot right-of-way, is that from the center of the road out?
No, that's for the entire stretch of road from one side to the other.
From Everett to Hobbs?
Correct. It will be 60 feet wide across that whole area, and that's what we'll have to purchase. So we don't have that right now. I think, like I said earlier, we have between 30 and 40 feet. It just depends on what has been improved over time. But we will certainly have to be able to get everything fit within that 60 feet of right-of-way that we'll have to purchase.
Okay, well, that was my concern, because I know with eminent domain, you have a right for so much, but then you have to purchase from the local residents what you think you're going to need in addition to that.
And we'll have not only the right-of-way, there may be some area outside of the right-of-way, slope easements, that construction easements, that sometimes will impact you, and you will get compensated for that. But that, when we get done with the project, that's still your land. You will keep that land on
So
your
what
property.
so I'm clear in my brain, excuse me, it takes me a little bit longer. So you're saying you got 60 feet from Everett to Hobbs, but you're not telling me how much right-of-way you have across the width of the road? Because right now you're planning two 12-foot lanes, which is 24, and then another 12-foot greenway on the north side. Now I'm on the south side. I mean, you can take more of mine if you need to, because I've got a hill and I just seen you take it and slope it off. I don't mind. I think it is about time we get this done, but there again, we're looking at maybe a year to a year and a half before it actually gets started.
At least that, actually. It's probably more like 2 years, with the engineering and the right-of-way. The engineering takes some time. And again,
Right.
if we were just doing the project ourselves, we'd probably do it much quicker. But we're working through TDOT, and that takes time to get approvals from TDOT and do some of the extra things that they ask us to do, since we're getting federal monies for that. So
Right, and the gas line is on the north end of the road, and the water line and the electrical power lines are on the south side of the
and
road.
utility relocation takes some time on any road project. Certainly Everett Road was the same way. We had all the utilities had to move.
Right.
And I'll say, we don't know yet exactly how the road is going to be aligned. It could be, typically, if it was a perfect world, it'd go right down the middle of the road now and just widen it evenly on both sides. But we're not necessarily sure that's gonna happen. And two, because we're putting the trail on the north side, we may have to take up a little bit more space on the south side from where it is right now. But we're not sure yet. So I can't tell you.
I don't
for
have a
sure.
problem with that, and my good neighbors across the street, I'm sure they would appreciate not losing so much of the frontage of their property.
Sure.
Because right now, we have a big bank and can't do it anymore. So if you want to take a little bit more and level that off, that's fine with me. Also, the road does need widening. When I sit there and read the paper every morning, watch a school bus come up, and a car comes down, and they can't pass each other,
We
And
want it to
those
be
big garbage trucks that come down through there, they take the side of that bank right along with it. They're big trails, from their wheels, so.
That's our goal, is to make it a safer route, no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Okay. I think you've answered pretty much all my questions then. That's why I was just concerned about, huh? Yeah, that's another way. It's a raceway right now between Sedgefield and Fox Run. Those kids come up through there and it's a racetrack. Can we get speed bumps? Right, I mean, right there in front of me and the Trouts and me and
Unfortunately, we don't allow speed bumps on collector roads, major roads like that. Sometimes subdivision roads, we have a process you can go through for that, but unfortunately not on collector roads. So,
because what they do is they cut through there instead of going out at Everett and going out at North Hobbs. And I also own the house on North Hobbs Road, the little white house.
okay.
So if you're going down to Kingston Pike, anyway, you might kind of go back the other way.
Again, we're not sure any of the design
Okay.
or anything yet, but that's why we're having these comments and questions tonight, so we can get some comments and questions back and see if there's any kind of things that once we get the feedback, see if there's any way we can accommodate it or not. But again, we're kind of boxed in somewhat to a defined window by TDOT, but we can hopefully have a little bit of flexibility with them.
Well, like I said, I don't mind you taking a little bit more on the south side on my side so that Jack and Charlene don't have the road right in front of their front door.
We'll take good notes on that and make sure
Okay.
we remember that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Any other questions? Anybody want to come to the podium or ask or comments?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
you done, ma'am? Okay, good. Good evening, my name's Scott Meyer, and I'm gonna try to get this mic to work. Here we go. And I live at 12428 Stall Drive. Sorry, I can't remember my own address tonight. I'm a member of the Fox Run HOA board, and my board has elected me to be the spokesperson for Fox Run, and that might be dangerous, so the president is here. I'm the secretary, but he can correct anything that comments I make. From the perspective of the board of Fox Run, we see two sets of proposals for Union Road. There's one that's already been presented in the Farragut Press in November, and that proposal included the 24-foot lanes, two 12-foot lanes. It included bike paths, which were 4 feet wide each. It included curbs, gutters. It included a sidewalk. It included a walking path. And as I read the article, I thought, what are they going to do, throw in a landing strip for the McGee Tyson Airport as well? So we saw that. Now we see this proposal. And really the only difference is I think we've gotten rid of the two 8-foot bike paths, but we've replaced it with a 12-foot multi-purpose path. So what we find interesting is that the proposals are all based on Union Road having a major collector status in the Farragut Town map of roads, or major road map. So we don't understand why Union Road is considered a major collector, because other major collectors include Watt Road, Grigsby Chapel, Everett Road, portions of Old Stage Road, which are basically the pictures, David, that you showed us, right? You showed us Everett Road and Old Stage Road. Those are major collectors. We believe that Union Road is a local collector. Examples of local collector include Boring Road. There's a road that goes through Kingsgate, and I think it's called Kingsgate. It starts off at Peterson, I think, morphs into Kingsgate, and then turns into one more road. But that whole road is a minor road. Union Road is actually a local collector from the portions of Everett to Smith and from the portion that goes over by Sedgefield. So local collecting roads have a slower speed, and they don't have the volume of traffic. And those of you who have seen Everett Road, y'all understand it's turned into a speed trap, right? Or a raceway. Matter of fact, my niece was leaving our house on Saturday night at Fox Run. She's a police cadet, and she almost got hit by a car pulling out onto Everett Road because the speeds are too fast. So although it was done very well, I'm not sure that kind of road called Everett Road, I don't think we want an Everett Road right outside our subdivision. So I had dialogue with BOMA back in November through emails where I requested that the status of the road be changed from major collector to local collector. And I reiterate my request tonight. We believe the local collector, again, Boring Road, portions of Union Road, portions of Kingsgate, are all local collectors. They have 11-foot lanes. I think they have some gutters, but they don't have a 12-foot multi-purpose path. And the folks of Fox Run don't believe that we need that here either, because you have Kingston Pike 2 blocks to the south. If we want all those businesses on Kingston Pike to be occupied rather, by pedestrian and bike traffic, then put the multi-purpose path along Kingston Pike. But don't put it in Fox Run, because we don't support it. Did I miss anything, Ron? So in summary, Fox Run is looking for two 11-foot wide paths, which we believe meets the local collector status. We want all the widening on the south side of the road, not the north side of the road, where our properties lie. We're okay with the gutters, but we want to keep the natural curvature of the road to make sure that the road doesn't turn into Everett Road. And we believe the curvature of the road will reduce speed. And then if you want the path, like I said, put it by Kingston Pike. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Anybody else have any comments they'd like to make tonight?
Mine are probably just curiosity questions, because this is really somewhat of, I'm not saying that we did not realize, for years that something does need to be done with Union. I live at 12608 Union, which is the corner of Everett and Union as you would turn down. On the so-called south side, where is the intentions to come all the way up that far, or since you've already kind of modernized on the Fox Run side, let's put it like that, I'd like to know where.
It's gonna go all the way, the plans are right now to go all the way up to Union, from Union all the way up to Everett Road. And so what's gonna happen is the road there is wider in that area, but there isn't curb and gutter, there isn't sidewalk, there isn't anything like that along that area. So the idea would be to do the improvements all the way, because you also have a bridge that we have to get across there. We have to line up.
I'm not worried about the
with
bridge.
the bridge.
I'm worried about that corner.
Sure. Well, we're certainly worried about the bridge and how it aligns up with the road improvements that need to be done. And, you know, I think we don't know yet, again, what the design is going to be. We just know that right now the plan is to get it all the way up to Union and Everett, right there at that corner, with whatever improvements we're able to do. And I think most of that area is pretty wide at that point. But again, until we get the design going, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like in that area.
So when these plans are fully developed, then are you going to get then with everyone and show us or give us copies?
Absolutely. Actually, that's a great question. When we get to that point, and that point may be a good 9 months or so from now, it's going to be a while. But when we do get there, then we'll have a public hearing on that. And we'll have a public meeting. It's part of what TDOT requires us to do as part of that whole process. And we'll have different areas where you can come, look at the design, look at the plans, have questions, put comments down, and give all those to us at that point. So that is the time where you'll see kind of the preliminary design of what it would look like. And we can tweak that hopefully in some cases. We may not be able to in some others, but we can certainly take your comments and work with it as best we can.
Okay, about the only other, to me, the road really only needs to be widened to accommodate the local traffic and keep everybody else from taking shortcuts through. That's one of the biggest concerns. Yes, the improvement that was done to Everett Road was very nice. Before it was done, they speeded up and down through there. When they topped that hill, and now you've made it even worse. And the bicycle lanes, they may be there, but they're not used. You're still in behind them. And I guess they have the right to be there too, but I think also they're very inconsiderate.
Well, we didn't put bike lanes on Everett Road, but we certainly, and that's why we're looking at, instead of doing bike lanes on Union, doing the multimodal path that would be able to allow both of them to go on the same path. So that's one of the reasons.
Well,
why we're looking at
even that smaller stretch of Everett, well, from Union, Everett, to the red light, it's widened on both sides, but they don't scoot over. And you get down there to the stoplight, and they'll just go around you and just keep on going. So why? I mean, I know you're not
I'm not
the
a bike-
law.
Well, I'm not a biker, I'm not a bicyclist, so.
But, and I don't,
understand what you're saying.
yeah, and I don't really know what you are with as far as the city of Farragut. But it'd be, you know, maybe cops out there patrolling every once in a while. And I know when you see a cop car, yeah, you're going to slow down.
If you're having speeding issues out there, we're glad to talk to Knox County sheriffs about it.
We are. And if there's a wreck on that corner, they wind up in my front yard.
Sure. They can come out and do some traffic control from time to time, so if you're having
Well, they
issues,
need to.
then we'll be glad to try to.
They
get them
need
out
to.
there.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Hello. My name is Rod Langman. I'm the president of the Fox Run Homeowner Association, and there were a few things that Scott forgot to, or didn't bring up.
Use the microphone.
All right, thank you. First of all, what is the logic of having a major collector road 2 blocks away from Kingston Pike?
Well, again, for TDOT, we were working with TDOT on this project. So TDOT doesn't have a major collector or a minor collector designation. It's a collector road for TDOT. And when TDOT has that, then you get federal funding. There's certain parameters. They look at the number of cars per day, the things that are going to happen on that roadway, and there's a kind of a matrix that they use to come up with how wide a road needs to be. And so that's why we're looking at 12-foot lanes, is because of all the things that we think that traffic is going to flow on that road when it's fully developed several years from now. So, because we don't want to go build it, let's say 10-foot lanes or whatever it may be, and then 5 years from now have to go back out and widen it another foot or two or whatever it may be. So, in other words, we're looking at the projected future use on that road as well as TDOT standards, and that's why we're looking at it.
Okay, would the money be available the same if it was a minor collector, is what you're saying then?
If we did not get any money from
No.
TDOT,
No,
then it would be a local road that we would then do ourselves. We have many of the same standards that TDOT has, so I'm not sure if it would be that much different than what you're seeing now. It just means we would do it a lot faster without the federal funding, but it would cost us a lot more money that we don't have in our budget.
I mean, so clearly, there wouldn't be, like, if you went on Smith Road now, like Andover Place, you see where they put stop signs up there. And they put another stop sign up further down with another small subdivision. We have 360 homes. And I'm not sure how many Saddle Ridge does, but it's certainly 250 or so. The new one that's coming in is going to have, when this is sold, a new development in the farm area, it will be probably at least a couple hundred. And if that roadway becomes like everybody here knows Everett Road has become, that we people will not be able to get out of there. I'm just making a comment on it. I'm making sure that somebody is looking at that.
Sure.
The other thing I want to know is why would they have the, why would we put all the walkway or the 12-foot mixed bicycle and walking path apparently? Why would that be on the north side rather than on the south side, where both Saddle Ridge and us, for right now, our entranceways are going to be in that. Our entranceways will be gone.
Well, one thing we will definitely do is pay attention to where your entranceway is and where Fox Run and Saddle Ridge's entranceway are. One of the things that we don't want to have to do is say tear up your entranceway and then have to build you a brand new brick wall just like you have currently. So the designers will take that into consideration as they come up to points in the way that we need to work with. So I don't want you to feel like you're all of a sudden going to have everything on your side of the road. As I said earlier, we may have to shift the middle line, say, of the road a little bit further to the south side in order to accommodate everything within that 60 feet of right-of-way. So again, the reason we are looking at the trail going on the north is that's where most of the residents are, up in that area. So as you come out of Fox Run, you'll be able to hit the trail and then go straight down towards Saddle Ridge and vice versa. Saddle Ridge will be able to come straight down and then hit the trail on Everett and then go up that way. So it creates a really big loop system with that.
Okay.
And then the commercial side obviously is not really developed at this point and is not connected to Union Road at all, really. So that's why we're looking at it on the north side.
Okay, I have one more question. Is this the design is not going to take into consideration any connector roads from Union Road to Kingston Pike?
I think I'll have to defer to our town engineer to look into that with our consultant. Certainly, we'll do some traffic analysis out there and try to figure out what's current out there, what we think may happen in the future, and if that's something that we can look at, certainly we will.
Okay, and is that something then when you have the when they come up with a design that's going to be then proposed, and there'll be meetings on that here, that'll be discussed at that time, and that'll be kind of, that design will be open to change based on decisions that are made by the town.
I think certainly all the analysis that we do, when we come to that point, we're able to show you the preliminary design package, we'll be able to talk through all of that. Our designers, Kinley Horn, and our town engineer will be able to talk you through any of the questions and comments that you have about how we got to that point based on traffic counts or whatever else it may be.
Okay, is it common for this, to get to this point without having this been discussed with any of the 1,500 residents that may live in that are going to be directly affected by it?
Well, we've been discussing it for a long time in all of our CIP budgets and the budget planning processes that we've had.
To this level of detail that this was going to become, has it been?
Well, again, we haven't even, this is why we're having this meeting, is that we wanted to get your comments
Okay.
before we even started.
Well,
the
that's why I was
design.
asking, is this is the common way, this is the common point that would be, that we would have this meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
In some roads, we wouldn't even have this meeting, but we
Yeah.
felt like it was important to have this with you guys, because I
Okay.
know it was an important subject for those of you that live on Union Road.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Any other comments from anyone?
I'm Chris Kulisek. I live in Saddle Ridge. I don't speak for Saddle Ridge. I don't know if anyone else here is from there. But I understand the concerns of widening that road and people speeding through there. The fact of the matter is people already speed through there. I mean, it's very narrow, and as you're coming up through the hill, someone could be speeding the other side. So I don't think widening the road is necessarily going to make them go any faster. The people that drive fast, they drive fast anyways. They're not considerate of other people's safety. I don't think widening the road does that. I think the path is something that I would like. I am a bicyclist, and I have to go through Saddle Ridge and connect up through a small path that connects Saddle Ridge to Fox Run and then come out Fox Run. It's not safe to go on Union Road. I'm not making apologies for people who don't get over. That's just bicyclists that aren't being considered. I apologize for that. But I think that bike path, I think the walking trail, I think it adds some to that area. I don't think that being on Kingston Pike is equivalent to a trail there. You'll see people walking through the neighborhood and being able to walk down that road with a path. I think it adds something to it, and I don't necessarily think that having that there is necessarily any detractor from the widening of the road. I know there's concerns in widening the road. As you see on Everett, yes, people are going faster through there, but as it warms up, I have seen a lot more people walking out on Everett Road, and it's a nice option for there. Obviously, I'm further back. I don't go out there, but I have seen more people walking out there, and it'd be nice to have that path there, so that's my input on it.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks.
Appreciate it. Anyone else have any comments they'd like to make? And again, you still have the comment cards you can leave on your way out if you'd like to. Or leave us your contact information and a question. We'll be glad to get back with you that way. Yes, sir.
So can the monies that are designated for the 12-foot multi-purpose path be designated to connect the greenways through Fox Run and Saddle Ridge that basically don't go anywhere? So that you can ride your bike and not have to go on Union Road. And we do not have a larger loop. If you connected the greenways along the little side of Fox Run and Saddle Ridge, have them come down Wild Road, Everett, and then hit Kingston Pike and get a slushy at one of the beer businesses that you open there or something.
That is not part of the federal funding that we have to do any kind of other off-site improvements other than what's along Union Road. So
Federal funding would dictate what happens to the residents in that area.
federal funding dictates basically being able to do the road. Right now, we're not. So again, our engineering staff has done an amazing job. Daryl Smith, our town engineer, and David Sparks, our deputy town engineer, have done an amazing job of getting federal funds. You know, when we operate off of basically we put about $2 to $3 million a year in capital money to go toward projects. This project, as you saw, is $4.5 million. So it takes a long time for us to save up enough money to do a project. And so being able to kickstart it with federal funds just means now we're able to utilize that money for that project and then also be able to do another road project that we need to do a little bit quicker, or a park project, or whatever it is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen decide is a priority for us. Okay.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
When that area is developed, that 20 or 30 acres that's developed, will that road be subject to be changed at that point to some other type of use or expanded again? Some way, I came late, so maybe that question's already been asked, I don't know.
Are you talking about the property that's in the middle? Let me go back to the map here.
The commercial property that's for sale, when that is
So-
developed, is there a chance that this
This
union
area
road
right here?
will be widened again?
No, ma'am. I think once the road's widened, then that's the only widening that we need to do. I think everybody maybe understand the question, just asking if the road would need to be widened, if the Swan Farm or the property on the corner there between Union Road and Kingston Pike was developed. And the answer to that is, once this is done, no. We'll have to look at decel lane or something like that is needed. But in general, the width of that road should be adequate for any kind of connection
So it's not
that's
subject
made.
to change with any other development going in the area then? It won't widen again?
No, ma'am, I don't believe it should. It should be fine just the way
But
it
could
is.
Could someone propose some alternative?
No, in the plan, they have to, the plan by Kim and Horn, when they're looking at the engineering design, they're looking at future land use 20 years out. So they're envisioning what we're envisioning happens with all the property around it when they design that road, so.
You should be comfortable that the way we design it and build it is going to be as wide as it needs to be.
Well, I travel that road every morning on my way to work, and I know it's a very busy road, and it does need improvement, I agree with that. But I also agree that it needs to be more of a rural type setting, because it does match the feeling and the spirit of the neighborhoods that surround that, and it's also a safety issue. It really is.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have any comments tonight? Really do appreciate your time.
I think I can speak loud enough. I'm Doris Hemming. I live at 112 North Hobbs Road. I'm at the intersection of Union and Hobbs on the right. And the road that has been widened was my property. Is that the width of the road from Hobbs to Sedgefield? Is that sort of what the extension will be?
It'll be a little wider than that.
Will
Those
you
are,
put a touch that?
we'll have to, yes, ma'am. We'll have to come through and widen it to make it consistent with the rest of the road that's being done, and then all the way around the corner to Hobbs, as well, going down to Kingston Pike.
I have lived there since I was 8 years old, and that area is a community. And I hate to see a pathway for, what do you call it, a multi-use
Path? Yes, ma'am.
pathway. I hate to see that go in, but I think a sidewalk for that area would be adequate. And maybe a little bicycle trail on the side.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments. And
I
I know you've
agree
lived
with
there a
that.
long time, for sure. Yeah.
I
Yes,
agree
ma'am.
with that because I own the little White House at 221 North Hobbs Road.
Yeah.
All right. All right, well, I would like to just say, yes, sir.
Where can we find out what the requirements are for federal funding?
Think we could probably find, we've got some TDOT manuals somewhere, Daryl, that we could probably list or
You mean the specifications of the
specs.
roadway?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what, Darrell, so that we can say, okay, what do we have to do? What's kind of going to be given that we have to do that we can't touch in any kind of a design change? And what things could be done without affecting losing that money? We kind of really not gonna throw the money away.
I can send you really one sheet out of the PDOT design standard. I've got your email,
Yeah.
I'll forward that over to you.
Okay.
Really, it's a breakdown for all collectors. And it shows the ditch section as a standard, but curb and gutter is accepted, because that kind of tightens it up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay.
So we'll be glad to, we'll be glad to get that to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
In reference to talking to her, listening to her comment from the back of her property and putting widening the road and the multi-use path and everything on the north side, what's gonna happen to the entrance to Saddle Ridge and their embankment and their clubhouse?
Again, the designer will take all of that into consideration, because again, we don't want to have to go build a new clubhouse or a new main entrance to the subdivision or anything like that. So we will work within those parameters as best we can and try to make sure, and that area is widened a little bit already, so it's a little bit better than the other section of Union Road. So there's not quite as much, but it's gonna get torn up just the same, because we've gotta go get it level with the rest of the road as it's designed. So again, we don't know necessarily right now how much, but I would like to say that we can try to hopefully stay out of the subdivision entrances as best we can.
So then are you saying you're gonna slide the multi-use this way, the road this way, and then that way? Is it gonna be jagged all the way down through there to bypass the entrance to the subdivisions?
Hopefully you won't notice that, but no, what it'll do is it'll actually, we talked about earlier, shift a little bit to the south of the road right now. So the road as it sits may be shifting a little south in order to accommodate that trail.
All the way down, not
Yes.
just to the entrance to the subdivision?
Correct. It'll be consistent the whole way through. That's the goal. All right, I'd like to thank everybody, again, for coming tonight. I really appreciate your comments. I don't want you to think we're gonna have answers for you next week. As I said, the engineering takes quite a long time, but we will, whenever we have our next public hearing, we will make sure we notify you, kind of like we did this time. If you're in a homeowner association, let y'all know about that. If you live along the road, we'll communicate with you as best we can by mail or drop something off on your porch. But we really appreciate you coming. And again, if you have comments or things you want to write down and drop in the box or a little basket on the way out, please do that as well. Yes, ma'am.
At the next meeting, will you have an outline supposedly for the road?
Absolutely. It'll be a preliminary design, so you'll actually see kind of where we're thinking everything's going to go before they wind up doing the final drawings and plans and be able to turn it into TDOT for approval. So at the time, if there's going to be a tweak or two here or there, that we'll be able to have time to do that. And yes, ma'am.
Even though all of this right now is just kind of a guide outline as to what you're looking at, as each process goes along, is there any way that we can get copies of this?
Of the PowerPoint tonight?
Well, kind of like that one screen that you,
Show the cross-section of the road, kind of how it may look like?
yeah, and you're talking about.
Okay, the ditch section and things
Yes,
like
and all
that?
that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Where we can make like notes
Like,
on that, and then as time goes.
like this?
Okay, we're changing it from A's being changed to C, or, for like our own.
Sure. Again, I think Mr. Smith has a copy of that ditch section. If you want to leave your email address whenever you leave tonight, and just put down your email address and say, I'd like a copy of this section or the TDOT standards, basically is what we're talking
If you don't
about.
want to use an email address, can it be printed off and mailed?
It can, or you can come by and request a copy of it.
Okay.
Either way is fine.
And who would you see on that?
You can come to Benny Newby in our front desk over
Okay.
here and just request a copy, and we'll get it to you as soon as we can.
Okay.
May not be that day, but we'll
Okay,
get it to you
that's
as soon
fine,
as we can.
that's fine, thank
Sure,
you.
you're welcome. All right, again, thank you all very much. If you all have any questions, you want to come up to me afterwards and ask, please do. But I really appreciate your time tonight and coming and learning more about the project. Thank you.